Well, I know most everybody here. Thanks for coming. March this louder. This is about winter boots, roof rakes, whiskey, and 40 years in Concord. I want to see who's in the audience here first before I get started. I may need to call the audience a little bit. Are there any cops, lawyers, city officials, and saints? Well, I guess nobody raised their hand. I know of one. I got here by way of a diversion program at county level. I had a little argument with the Concord police, and it ended up a Class B felony, which could end up in the state prison, I was told. I don't know if that's true. They offered, I think, 30 days in county, and then they come up with the diversion program. And the first class I went to, the speaker he'd been in state prison for 15 years, some drug-related thing. And the first thing he did, he looked at me and he goes, "Are you in this class?" Because everybody else was like 21 or under. So that's how I got here. I passed the class, it's hanging on the wall there. I did part of my diversion here for the time, public service.
You got him back on track.
I'll read a little bit from a rough resume I have so you know my background. I was born in East Liverpool, Ohio, near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I spent 65 to 68 in the Army as a non-commissioned officer in the Finance Corps. I got a BS degree from Miami of Ohio after I finished the Army. I worked for Blue Cross of Illinois for about 5 years as senior cost analyst. Stayed in New Hampshire, I did 23 years. As a management analyst for the Governor's Commission on Crime and Delinquency. It's kind of funny. And while I was there, I wrote the first draft of what sheriffs do in the state of New Hampshire. And so I visited several of the sheriffs. Sheriff Ash up in Grafton County had a wooden leg, World War II. I think the sheriff in Carroll County gave me a 1920s book on sheriffs. I read that. I was Assistant Chief, Bureau of Audits, Medicaid rate setting. I was Director of Admin Support for Mental Health and Developmental Services. Business Manager, Assistant Superintendent of Laconia State School. What else did I do? Business Manager of Drug and Alcohol Abuse. I was drafted for that. I didn't volunteer for that. Program Coordinator, Finance Guy for Developmental Services. And then I did some building management and revenue max. I worked for KOM Properties in Illinois on a construction job, and the interest rate went to 23.5%. So these guys now are a bunch of pussies, man. They don't know nothing. Okay, back. That's that one. So has anybody here heard of John Deere before now? Sign over there. That's a house I bought in 1976 with my wife then. And I didn't know anything about the neighborhood. I found out later that it was kind of rough. One of James' tenants wouldn't let his dad wouldn't let us walk down the street when he was a kid. It was so bad. We had to kind of get it straightened out. I called the cops about every night about noise and parties and everything. They didn't seem to come up to the thing. They tried to dodge me and everything. I had a lawyer friend says, "Well, just tell them you'll go over and talk to them, because they'll come out then." So I started trying that. And that kind of worked. A little story about that. I think the guy's gone now, so I can tell a story. I was sitting in Margaritas one night, and he come running in. He never came down there. And I said, "What's up?" He says, "Well, if we go back to the house," he was a tenant of mine, he says, "there's a bunch of cruisers there, we're in trouble." I said, "What the hell did you do?" He said, "Them two kids we had a run-in with up the street kept throwing glass in our driveway and nails and shit, and the cops wouldn't do anything. They come over, they caught me taking out garbage." So he says, "I swiped the one kid, and they said to me, 'We don't want you, we want the old man.' So he swiped him because he was a sniper in the service. I think he had 7 confirmed kills. The kid didn't have nothing on him, so he grabbed the kid, he threw him on the ground, stuck a 9mm up under here, and cocked it. And he says, to the other guy standing there, he says, 'You won't have time to piss your pants before you hit the ground if you move.' And he says, 'As for you, the next time you jack off, pull your blinds.' We went back, no cops. So those are things we did. I gotta get back on track. John White bought his house. I didn't find out that he lived there 2 years later. So I did a lot of research on it. I got some books up here with some background. He actually, his son had patents on woodworking machinery down at the John A. White Foundry. That's the bindery they just tore down. Now I get sad every time they tear something down in this town. They tore down the train station. They tore down the Eagle Tavern next to, right across here. Thomas Jefferson visited there in 1810. We tore it down. It was the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen. The people that built it were craftsmen. They tore it down. I did a tour in there just before they tore it down. The lady was telling me, and we got about done, and she said, "We're going to save the knoll post there. It's real pretty. It's swirled around." I said, "So you can remind yourself of the fuck up here?" She says, "The tour's over." When I went to the diversion program, just before I went, this young lady in Margaritas said, "You got to remember some things about diversion." She said, "First, a win doesn't mean you're going to get a prize. Winning doesn't mean a prize." He said, the 3 real things you got to remember is shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, and the third is the same as the first 2. Well, I took her advice, so I guess it worked. Now, I got in an effort to preserve my house. I bought it in 76. I bought the 2 houses next to me in 86 because I got tired of hearing beer bottles going through the windows. And it was an absentee landlord. I bought them and I woke up at about 2 in the morning after I did it in a panic. I said, "What have I done? I'm only me, I'm working." Well, I proceeded to work on them. I got a reward for one of them restoring it eventually. Well, when you try to preserve and restore and maintain 3 old houses over 40 years, it's tough. I remember when I first moved in with my wife, I used to get Old House Journal, I think. And I remember one comment that somebody made in there: an old house can be the downside of a whole lifestyle. Yeah. Let's see. Short stories. Maintain order. I already told that. Characters. Some great neighbors. Gerald Dufresne lived next to me. He worked in Rumford Press. And years later, somebody told me they called him No-Nose, which I didn't like. He was born without a nose, really. There wasn't hardly anything there. When I met him, he'd tape over it. And he said it was just easier to tell people I had a nose operation than to try to explain it. Well, they tried to fix it when he was a kid. He cut his finger off to do it, and that didn't work, so here he is with no nose and no finger. And so he come over when I moved in the neighborhood, and I took the double front doors off my house and I'm scraping them. he said something to me, "You're very courageous," or something. And I didn't quite get it till a couple years later, and I realized how the neighborhood was, you know. I kind of moved into it. The banker said to my wife and I, he said, "You know, you guys in a couple years save a little money and move up on a hill or something." He was telling me I probably wouldn't like it there. Well, I've been there 42 years. I really hate losing the structures, the character and the history of the town. We just lost that one up on Center Street that they pulled down. It was vacant for years. Well, they tore down the John A. White bindery. Go back to here. He had machines made in that bindery, his son. He was a patent right, which is like a patent lawyer. And his son served as quartermaster in the Civil War. When he come back, he started designing these machines. And they were used up in the prison, and there's pictures of them here. This is, David Lamb gave me these pictures, because he has one in his shop out in, where the hell is it, Canterbury. And he always has furniture down here in the league.
Canterbury.
What's that?
David Lamb?
Yeah.
Canterbury.
So he uses one of them today. And that was back in the 1870s.
What does it do?
They're planers, woodworking machinery, some dovetail machinery. And so White was making them down there.
So slow.
And I thought they could use that for
I'll give you some money.
something better than tearing it down. But anyway, that went. So I was going to talk about the bow gore. Does anybody know about the bow gore? The term bow gore, G-O-R-E. If you look up gore in the dictionary, it's like a triangular piece of cloth. What's that piece of land down by the Great Bend? If you go down the river and you make that first big right below the Manchester Bridge, the land on the other side of there, that goes down by Sewell's Falls, was called the Bow Gore, and Concord and Bow fought over it for years. There was an article about it, about 20 pages at the Historic Society I got, and I went back to get it recently and they can't find it. And I took a copy of it and I took it back. I know I took it back. Can't find it. Well, they do have a painting down there, the Historic Society, taken from right down there by the Great Bend. And it shows the dome up the river, sitting right up the river. A woman named Evelyn owned a house down there. And I went down there one day, years later. I used to love to look up the river, see the dome, and the river right under it. Just a great view. And I looked up and I see this big blue thing almost next to the dome. Big blue structure. I said, "Evelyn, what the fuck's that?" She says, "That's a new parking garage where they're putting in the restaurant and stuff." And they broke something they said they weren't going to do to hide the view of the State House when they let them build that. Another screw up. That's a beautiful area down there. If you ever drive down there, and you can, it's private property, and it's also called, the Great Bend is called the Carrying Way, Bow Gore, and then there's Garvin's Falls. And right there at that Great Bend, the Indians used to come down. They didn't want to go over the falls in their rafts, so they'd go up through this ravine. And if you look at a map, I was going to try to get a copy of it, but I didn't. Suncook River's right up there. And so they take the rafts up there, go down to Southcook, and go on the other side of the falls to get by. But if you ever take a drive and look up there, it's beautiful. Another spot I think that's really nice. Well, they were going to put an industrial park down there in the Bow Gore. That's probably full of Indian relics, you know? Dog park, pickle park. Anybody know that? Nobody's going to raise their hand. Huh? Mark, I know you raise your hand. Well, if you walk down there, and if you get a chance to go down and get in between kind of the parking lot for the dog park and between the dog park and look up the river, it's beautiful. The city's trying to get the state to do something about 93. You can't get down to the river from 93 unless you want to jump. The land that's good is where they want to put that walkway is over on the other side. And I think they should do that. They should do something. I'd like to see a restaurant with pontoon boats over there. They'll come up with all the reasons they don't want to do it. And they can have a little bus go down there. It's not that far. You can walk. What do we got here? Richard. Jane said I got to talk about Richard. Anybody hear of downtown Richard? They wrote an article about him when he died. He used to walk, he was schizophrenic, he used to walk downtown and just talk to buildings. And he'd walk the same building every day and look at it like he never saw it before. Well, he was Paul Boffinger's cousin. Paul Boffinger was the head of New Hampshire Forest, what is it, Forest Society? Yeah. Well, we met Paul, Jane and I, found out that Paul and Jane's dad double dated years ago. They lived in a boarding house up in Pembroke. Well, I met Paul through Richard. I met Richard at Thursday's restaurant. I was in there with a lady friend, and Richard was kind of sitting over with coffee, he was talking to himself, and I thought, I'll say something to him. I said, hi, how you doing? He went off. He just went off. And Judy come over and she goes, I blame you for this. He just kept going, man. Well, we finally met several times, became friends. I used to, when I get tired of tenants and they'd leave and I didn't want to put anybody else in, I'd let Richard go in there. And if it was in the big house, he'd start prancing around at night, running around, making noise. And I kept telling him, you gotta be quiet. And he finally got pretty good about it. He would never get into bed. I had him in the back house, I had him upstairs, I had him in the front house with Mark.
Yes.
Mark and him were best friends.
Yes. Richard and I were best friends.
Richard would never get into bed. I'd make that bed so tight, he would never get in the damn bed. One time he was down where the tavern was, and he fell asleep and fell into the granite foundation and cut his head. They drafted him, I guess. And he went to Fort Dix, New Jersey. Paul told me this. I said, what happened? He said, well, of course he ran away. He showed up at Paul's house with his uniform on. And the Army finally figured out, no, we don't want him. But Richard and I were friends. I'd buy him food. When I come back from Florida, I had a winter in Florida. He was sitting on my front steps in the snow, waiting on me, ranting and raving. And he was ranting and raving so much that I went by him and I said, Richard, everything okay? How you doing? Hi, Richard. Finally took me a while, but he realized I was back. He died of prostate cancer a few years ago. Likes and dislikes of Concord. What is it? Oh, remember people used to call it the city in a coma? Somebody else, Steve, who's Steve? He calls it Discord instead of Concord. I'm wondering what it'll be when it grows up. Although I love this town, I love the city and the town. City Hall's another thing. I hate the chaos downtown. And I hate the fact that the cops don't know the locals. Christ, I live 2.5 blocks from the police station. They don't know who the hell I am. Louder? Mark says louder.
Yeah.
I like regular people, bars, and staff there. I got a bit of wisdom I learned when I worked for the state from from the 2 chief psychiatrists for the state of New Hampshire. They were the highest paid guys in the state. One of them told me, he says, most problems cannot be solved, they can only be endured. And he had that on his wall. And the other one, I walked by his office, and he was ranting and raving, and I usually didn't listen, but I couldn't help it. He was so loud, and he goes, you know why nobody does it right? He says, because it's too goddamn hard. So there's a bit of wisdom. Ice dams, if you don't do roof raking, you get ice dams. And ice dams is worse. You gotta axe them. And you gotta axe them when it's about 39 degrees and the sun's shining. They're gonna take shingles. And if you axe them and there's a lot of water behind them, you get covered with it. Well, one night, I was done with my work, and I looked up at Ruthie's, and Ruthie Miller. She was Herbie Quinn's sister, I believe. She and Eddie Miller lived up the street from me on Maple. I looked up, and boy, she had the ice dams, and sickles was coming down. And I saw her out there, so I walked up, and I said, what's going on? She said, it's coming in on my porch. So I put the ladder up, I chopped the shit out of the ice dams, got soaking wet from middle of my stomach all the way down, shoes and everything. And I got her a path in there, and I told her I'd come back the next day to clean it up. I went back the next day, and she come out, and she says, you forgot something, and she points around the house. I looked out back, and the garage was totally flat on top of a car. And I'm glad I didn't get back to the roof raking, because you start doing something like that, you'll disturb it, it'll go down. So, Ruthie went to the county, I think I went up and visited her after Eddie died. And she went to hospice 3 times, and they took her back to the nurse home. That's how tough she was. Between the 3 houses, I got 11 sets of entry steps, 8+ walkways, 150 feet of sidewalk, 9 parking spaces, 6+ roofs, one up a 40-footer, one up 3 stories. I used to use a rope to tie myself to the chimney. And then I said, screw it, I got smart. I'd go out there and just do a little bit, let it melt off because it's on the south side, and then walk on it. And I hate heights, but I got it. Now, once you rake the roof, most of the time if it goes in driveway, you got to move it again. And it's heavy and wet, so you use the snow blower and other stuff. What I love about Concord is it's not snow removal, it's snow relocation. They come down with a plow about 3 times in a snowstorm, and every time it looks like it's a bigger plow, and they push it back further. Where's it going to go? Well, it's the bank. There's no place on the bank for it to go. Well, you got your driveway open from the last plow. It goes right in there. It's heavy, it's full of salt, and it's wet. And they've arrested guys for threatening the goddamn plow guys with a shovel or something. If I was mayor, I'd have had a small truck come from behind and push the thing over. And then you got to get the snow. After the tenants clean off their cars in the driveway, you got to go back and get that. I think that I didn't mark that down. Oh yeah, 9 parking spaces. So where the hell am I at in this thing? Likes and dislikes. Wisdom. I got copies of a poem up here that I think is pretty cool. I read the thing. It's about living and dying. But I never get to it. I choke up. So if anybody's interested in a great poem. I did have a lot of help in doing all this, but for the most part it was me. Right now, I have a bad heart. I got 2 fractures in my back. I got lung problems. And I'm 74 years old. So if anybody wants to buy 3 houses, the first time I was in court this last time. I have a clean record up until this last time. I should have brought a copy of that. We were leaving, 2 sheriff's deputies were sitting there at the front. I was going by and I remembered, oh, I wrote the first report on sheriffs for the state. And so I thought, man, should I say something? And I thought, yeah, go ahead, what the hell. I stopped and I said, you know, guys, when I was the Governor's Commission on Crime and Delinquency, I wrote the first draft about what you guys do. And it's in the state library. I went up and looked at it. I could see that I wrote it when I did, but it's copies in the state library. I bet you now nobody knows what the hell I did. And I said, so at that time, up till recently, I was doing good, and then I turned to a life of crime because they knew I'd come out of court. And then Mark and I went out the door. I looked over and I said, hey, Mark, the tea garden's about open. We walked over to the tea garden, started drinking, shooting pool, and playing music.
Yeah?
You weren't supposed to hear that, brother.
Yeah, no. Don't sit down, I'm too loud. Yeah, pull it up now.
I never tested to see how long this was good. So court, everybody looks bored. I got there at 8 o'clock. They said be there at 8:30. We're outnumbered. Herds of lawyers, etc. Let's let it go, boys, please. Good place to pick up chicks. That was Mark, he said that. Well, there was a bunch of, what do they call him? What's the attorney say? Public defenders. Bunch of, they're all women, man. And they're all dressed and talking about their shoes and their things, and everybody's sitting there like this, you know. Mark goes, good place to pick up chicks. Only one side is smiling. Only the lawyers are talking with one another. Oh, what a grandiose system we have built and building. I was referring to the building we were in, the new building. Another fucking lawyer. Peg pants are back. The clientele stirs, all 7 of them. The place was swarming with people, and there's only 7 clients in there. 9:58 a.m. and we wait, and the paperwork marches on. Lawyers chuckle, and we wait. Even my dandruff is stirring. And we all wait for justice. Surely it will come. The chatter increases, and God looks down. The entry door opens and closes more often. Clients and lawyers come and go, and we wait. The deputy is yawning, and we wait for justice. Surely it is somewhere, but where if not here? My ass is getting sore. The deputy glances towards the crowd. Smartphones have been out for some time, and we wonder who wrote the book of love. 10:20, the deputy heads out the exit door and comes back with the judge. I've been there since 8 o'clock. We all rise. He probably doesn't care. Surely there must be a better way. I pull up my mustache. The lawyers at the bench laugh. I'm up. I just realized I'm the oldest person in here. Drugging persecution. I really meant prosecution, but I call it persecution. Approach the bench. I hope they laugh. Droggy nods. I wait. Droggy explains, argues, shakes head. Please laugh, I hope. Droggy's phone is out. They laugh. I relax ever so slightly, and we wait. You ever been in court? Anybody here been in court? Really? Have you ever been there on the wrong side? I asked that question down at the Tea Garden one night. It was either New Year's or Christmas. And they had the pool table covered, and we're all in there. And there must have been 12, 15, mostly guys in there. Somehow the question came up, and I said, I don't know if I asked if you ever been arrested or you ever been up the county. And everybody raises their hand. Even the guy that used to own Cinema 93. That was for that French film he had over there, I think. And there was one guy that didn't raise his hand. And a little bit later, one of the other guys comes over and he says, he's with a new girlfriend. He was up there too. He just didn't want to raise his hand. This is a book Craig put together from my bullshit notes that I do when I'm in the bar. I'm in the bar 7 days a week because, like I say, it's not my houses, and I need to get away. Well, burning the green martini, oh, this is good. That was bad. The burning of the green, this is my second attempt at it. My first one somehow got tore up when I was pissed off in the tea garden, and I tore up part of my book I had written on it. So this still, no more music, dancing, shut-offs, fuck yous or laughter, tears or sympathies. Must be the age of destruction. Misfits, one regular said. Yes, misfits, musicians, monkeys, and more, swearing and caring, drinking and thinking, bitching and listening. Happy hours and not so happy hours. Men in the ladies' room, ladies in the men's rooms. Pissing and kissing, it was all there. If we both had another lifetime, I couldn't explain it to you. Don't stare too hard, old man. There was this real good-looking chick. What was her name? What? Nikki. And Jane was down there with me one night, and she disappeared. I didn't know where she's at. I'm looking, I look all around. There's two sides to the green. And finally, I go, the ladies' room's locked. So I knife the door, and it's not Jane, it's Nikki. And I jumped just as much as she jumped. One night later, she said to me, what was that all about the other night, old man? And I said, well, I was looking for Jane, And ever since then, she'd come in the bar, and she's all dressed in the 90s, and I always stare at her, and she'd look at me, and she'd say, don't stare too hard, old man. And don't stare too hard, old man. Then, John's pissing off the curb. And in chorus, John's pissing off the curb. Mayoral campaigns and marriage breakups. From we never throw you out to 2 weeks later. You're out of here. Don't even think about paying. Get now. Lawyers, carpenters, masons, school teachers, bartenders, state workers, all levels. Retirees, cooks, fireys, quitters, landlords, tenants, shady guys and dolls, drunks and hunks. Halloween's the best. Serve you till you're falling down. Then put you back on your stool, but only if you could walk and contain. They knew you, your limits, your weaknesses. You could get up and give mayoral speeches at the open mic. You could even dance if it was dirty dancing. They'd shut you off. You'd call them all kinds of names within reason and not too serious. Claim that you're never coming back. Then be the first one in the next day, greeted by the usual, what are you having? Could you throw the stock market on the TV? Of course. Or the martial arts combo? Of course. And swearing, customers, employees, and owners alike. What do you want tonight? You shriveled up old bastard, one of my favorites. The response, fuck you. And, you know, your old man and your old lady would have been half bad last night if he or she hadn't fallen asleep. Or, Cookie, why don't you buy this place? And put up with me and the rest of these bastards? No thanks, I'll stick to drinking. Boy, this thing's a long one. And sometimes you start there or hit it in the middle. Then you come back when you're really fucked up. They won't serve you. You wonder why. You exchange pleasantries. Leave and get hit by a car in the alley. call the Concord PD shouting obscenities, and they hang up on you. And your friends pick up pieces of you for the next month on the streets of Concord. Gloves, knives, hats, books, etc. However, the next day, 3 p.m., you head down, tail between your legs. Life started again. I heard you got your ass shut off last night. Response, fuck you. Or how was work today? Or your old lady still fucking your sorry ass? Ain't seen her lately. You? Something is wrong. Get fired. I don't know. It was it. The great good place, the leveler. Well, yeah, I used to say when I leave, adios, motherfuckers. P.S. I had my last beer in the window. This was after it burned. Missed the rubble and memories. I had my last beer in the window. Missed the rubble and the memories. Left its remains on the table, picked up my bar stool and walked out. Everything smelled of smoke, friends, and community. PPS. And the music. If it weren't for the music, the musicians, bartenders, customers, they all made the music and we danced. Concord had something you never knew it had. Betsy says, I hope you make it home.
John,
Draghi.
John, wait, would you do it all over again, huh? Where you been? Where you come?
Yeah, fuck it, I'd do it again.